I thought if I stop and turn round, they'll say, oh my goodness, she's coming back, and then they would shoot me.
Afghanistan's Taliban regime says it will put the British journalist Yvonne Ridley on trial for entering the country illegally.
Worryingly, the Taliban have hinted they might claim she was a spy for Western special forces.
The moment I was arrested, I was terrified because I had fallen for all of the Western propaganda that these were brutal, evil men who hated women. So I really didn't think that I was going to see the sunset that night. I just thought this is the end for me. So I was quite frozen with fear. And I was taken to the intelligence headquarters in Jalalabad. Because of their limited knowledge, I mean, their knowledge of me was as limited as my knowledge of them in cultural terms. And they thought I was an American spy because they didn't recognize my accent. They thought it was, it's from the north of England, near the Scottish border. And I tried to tell them we don't all speak like the Queen. When they were talking to me, they kept looking away. They looked at the ceiling, they looked at the floor, they looked out of the window, they looked anywhere but at me. And I just thought, they can't look me in the eye because they know that they're going to kill me and they're feeling too guilty. When, of course, I learned later that they were showing me respect by not staring at me. So it was a real clash of cultures. They didn't understand me. I didn't understand them. I was extremely fearful. And so once I became accustomed to the idea they're going to kill me, the biggest fear then was, will they torture me? Will they rape me? Will they abuse me? And so that was my next biggest fear. So I just thought, if I'm the prisoner from hell, they'll just take me outside and shoot me, and then that'll be the finish. It'll be over. And I'll go from being prisoner to being dead. And at least I'll miss out all the middle bits. And so that was my strategy. They kept responding to me when I was rude, aggressive. I threw things at them, I spat at them. They kept saying, why are you behaving like this? You were our guest, we want you to be happy. And I'm thinking, why are they acting like this? They're supposed to be evil and brutal. This is obviously a game that they're playing, you know, like a cat and a mouse. They're going to let me think that they're really nice, and then at the last minute, the claws will come out. So throughout the whole experience, I don't think we came to one understanding with each other. But in truth, they never laid a finger on me. They never touched me. They didn't respond in an aggressive manner. If they were upset with me, they just got up and walked out. You know, we don't want to talk to you. And so it was not what I expected. I'm sure I wasn't what they expected.
At the Sunday Express, her employers insist she's a bona fide journalist who only entered Afghanistan to report on the humanitarian situation.
And after 11 days, I was released on humanitarian grounds, even after the war had started. And I don't know who was happier when I walked back into Pakistan, whether they were glad to see the back of me or I was happier just to get away from them. But it was only on the point of my release, as I was walking towards the Pakistan journalists, that I started to think about my time in captivity. And the journalists were shouting, "How did the Taliban treat you?" And I'm walking towards my colleagues from the Pakistan media, and I thought, you know, these guys treated me with courtesy and respect. And then I thought, gosh, how did I treat them? And I thought, I nearly stopped and I nearly turned around to go back to say, look, I'm really sorry I was so rude. But I thought, if I stop and turn around, they'll say, oh my goodness, she's coming back, and then they would shoot me. So I went and I told the Pakistan media I was treated with courtesy and respect, which was true. So I unlocked the door, and there, standing in front of me, was a man who made my blood run cold.
She was held on spying charges and fully expected to be stoned. But instead of ending her life, her experiences in that Afghan cell were to change her life forever.
On the 6th day, the translator, a young guy called Hamid, said to me, you have a very important visitor today, and you must be respectful. Please don't shout, please don't throw things. This is a very high person who is coming to visit you today. And I said, who is it? And he said, I can't say. And I said, you know, is it Mullah Omar? Or is it Osama bin Laden? You know, who is it? And he said, I can't say, I can't say. So off he went, and about 15 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Although I was the prisoner, I had the key, because they gave me the key. So I unlocked the door, and there, standing in front of me, was a man who made my blood run cold. He was wearing an ivory gown that went right down to the floor, an ivory turban. He had a light brown beard and brown eyes. And his complexion was something that I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, is he wearing makeup? Because his face was shining, but the light wasn't shining on him, it was shining out of him. And I've never seen anything like this before. And I learned later that what I was seeing was the nur on this person's face. So I'm looking at this man. It was obvious that he was a religious cleric. And I just thought, I have avoided talking about religion for 6 days, and now this is it. You know, this must be the final hurdle before I get put up against the wall and shot. So he came in and we sat down. He sat opposite me, the translator was next to me, and he asked me what my religion was, and I thought, oh, here we go. And I said, I'm a Christian, and he said, yes, but are you a Roman Catholic? Are you a Protestant? I said, I'm a Protestant from the Church of England. And he said, and what do you think of Islam? Well, you know, in truth, I knew nothing about Islam. The little bit of knowledge that I had gleaned was wholly incorrect, as it would transpire later. So I knew nothing about Islam. And he said, what do you think of Islam? Oh, I said, it's wonderful. It's absolutely amazing, you know, and went off in praise of this faith that I knew nothing about. And he sat and he smiled, and then I stopped and he said, Islam is a beautiful religion. And I looked at him and I said, I couldn't agree more. I said, do you know The people around here love their faith so much. I said, you'll never believe how many times a day they pray. And this is where I showed my ignorance. I said they pray 5 times a day. Because when you're in prison and there's nothing to do, you count things. I counted the prayers. I had no idea that Muslims prayed 5 times a day. He must have thought, you stupid woman, but he was far too polite to say that. And then he said, so you would like to convert? And he invited me to embrace Islam. And I just thought, oh, what am I going to say now? If I say yes, he'll say, you insincere, fickle woman, take her away and have her stoned. Or if I say no, he'll say, how dare you insult Islam, take her away and have her. So I'm thinking, what am I going to say? And then I just said, look, I can't make such a life-changing decision while I'm in prison, but I will, if you release me, I will read your holy book and I will study Islam. And he just smiled. He didn't say yes or no or anything, and he got up and left. When I got back to London, it would have been easy for me to think, well, I'm not keeping my promise. But I also thought, as a journalist, it was quite clear that I knew nothing about Islam. And if I was to write with any authority about people from Asia, from the Arab world, from the Muslim world, if I was to write with any authority, I needed to know about Islam, because the one thing that I came to understand very quickly through the Taliban was that Islam is not just something you pick up and put down on Friday prayers. It is a way of life. It is the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you think, the way you pray, the way you dress, the way everything. It's a whole life support system. And so as a duty to myself as a journalist to be informed, as well as giving a promise to the Taliban, I started reading Islam. It was a very slow process. I didn't tell my colleagues that I was reading about Islam. It took about 2 years, but the journey very quickly turned from being an educational one into a spiritual one, because when I started reading the Quran, it was easy. The English translation I was given was by a Yusuf Ali. And there was supplementary notes to all of the ayats. I also started to read about this man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. And I was amazed by what I read, and back in 2001, I had never heard of him. And of course now, our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a role model as contemporary. He's a man of the 21st century, as he was back in the 7th century, an incredible person. At the end of 2 years, I ended up embracing Islam, and it wasn't a great leap of faith. I'm still praying to the same God. I just do it in a more disciplined